Hey watch friends, today we're going to check out what is quickly becoming one of my most anticipated watches of 2022. This is from MW Timepieces, a new micro brand, and this is their Legatodiver. This will be coming to Kickstarter tentatively on April 5th of 2022. We'll get into the full details as we go through. For upfront matters, I do want to be very transparent. While this is a prototype that was loaned to the channel for review, I do believe they are going to send me a production model, and accordingly, while it's not impacting the review, I do want to let you know about that. Additionally, if you haven't already seen it, I did feature an unboxing. Do definitely encourage you to check that out. The packaging material in this is fantastic. It comes with an absolutely gorgeous wood box. It comes with a nice warranty card inside, microfiber cloth, booklet, as well as it comes with an extra strap in this bracelet that we'll look at throughout the video. With all that out of the way, getting into the specs, first, for warranty. It does come with a 2-year warranty standard. The case, measured from roughly the 3 to 9 position, is coming in at 39.5 millimeters. As for the bezel, it does step down slightly, and that's coming in at 39.1 millimeters. The lugs are going to be a strap change friendly 20 millimeters, and the lug to lug is coming in at 46.1 millimeters. One of the early comments I saw was with respect to this having male end links. I will tell you this isn't too bad. It's coming in at 50.7 millimeters, and that's including the end links. So as you can see overall, and we'll see it on the wrist later, but overall dimensions really still are easily proportioned to fit comfortably even on smaller wrists. And with this having a steep drop to that, I haven't found this to wear altogether that differently than many female end links, while I personally think giving a more attractive look as far as just the general flow with these male end links. The thickness is only coming in at 12.5 millimeters. That's total, and I will say, to me, it looks a little bit thicker, but I measured that on my calipers, and that's what it's coming in as. Really not too bad at all. The crystal is a flat sapphire crystal, and it does have 10 coatings of inner AR, so plenty of AR coating applied. Of course, as always, you're still going to pick up some glare and reflection from it, but I found it to be plenty legible. The movement isn't going to come with your bone stock movements that you might expect when we get into the price point. This actually comes with a Sellita SW200, so you're talking a relatively entry-level Swiss movement. It's an ETA 2824 clone, but it has all the features you'd want. It's high beat, bi-directional for the rotor, hacking, hand winding, all those kind of good things, and a decent power reserve as well. As far as water resistance, you can see right there, it is 300 meters or 30 atmospheres of water resistance. And for the weight, size to my 6.5-inch wrist, this is only coming in at 147.2 grams, so firmly in the middleweight category. Definitely not too heavy, not too light. I think it's right about that sweet spot for most people, depending on your preferences. As far as the specs for this, or rather I should say the launch for this, as I mentioned, April 5th of 2022 on Kickstarter. There'll be a link down in the description for their the site and campaign as well. But this is anticipated to start at $489 for the super early bird pricing, which for the specs that we just went through, I think that's pretty darn good, but we'll look at it and unpack it more as we go through. Alright, so first, taking a deeper dive into the color options. There is, of course, the teal version we're looking at today. There's additionally a black version, a blue version, a white version with a black bezel, and a white version with a red bezel as well, so you have plenty of options available for this. As you look at the dial has what I would describe as a subtle sunburst with a more noticeable fume applied. The sunburst is enough that it certainly picks up the light and plays around, but it's not so much that you really notice the texture at a casual look. At the 12 o'clock position, there is a printed logo, which do note on the production version, that is going to be slimmed down, and it will actually be loomed as well. Additionally, at the 6 o'clock position, you can see the name Legatodiver, as well as the water resistance. And then as you move out towards the perimeter, you can see that there is a printed chapter ring, so you have individual minute and second ticks all the way around for nice, easy, clean legibility. Down at the 6 o'clock position, there is a date window. While it is unframed, it has kind of a built-in framing where that is a beveled construction. Shifting over to the hardware, you can clearly see that this has a very typical syringe-type patterning for this. So you have a nice paddle with a syringe tip. On the minute and hour hand, it is going to be brushed application. On the second hand, you can see that there is a double lollipop design. So you have your counterbalance as well as out towards the tip where you have your loom. And then speaking of the tip, it does have red applied on this particular version as an accent color to help for legibility there as well. As you move out to the markers, these markers are applied all the way around, and they're a really unique and gorgeous setup. At the 12 o'clock, you have a more traditional triangular shape for that. But as you move around, and the whole theming throughout this is going to be a guitar theme, in case that wasn't readily apparent. But as you move around, the markers are shaped as what I would describe as being like an applied polish, and they're kind of like the tuning pegs that you would find on a guitar. Additionally, as far as the loom, you can see there's loom applied to all the markers, to the handset, to, on the production version, the logo, also to the bezel has a generous loom application, including those 6 strings, and it even actually has this on the date wheel. This thing is absolutely packed with loom. I've found in my usage, it has performed well overall, and I've been pretty impressed with that. Additionally, it does actually have loom on the crown also, so that's a nice touch. As far as the bezel itself, the action on this is a 120 click unidirectional bezel, as you'd probably expect for a dive style watch. Let's go ahead and give that a listen. The action on this is superb. It is just absolutely fantastic, and I know I've used the word superb to describe this one a lot, and you'll understand why as we go through. This thing has, I would say, 0 backplay whatsoever. Once it's locked into position, it has virtually no wiggle, but it just has such a nice, satisfying, tactile feel, and it's the perfect heaviness to that. It's not too heavy, it's not too light, gives you a nice pronounced tactile click without being hard to turn in any way, shape, or form. So that's fantastic. As far as the bezel insert, this has a sapphire bezel insert with, of course, that unique patterning as you move throughout. And additionally, that is kind of a flush, almost flush construction with that, which I think gives a nice and unique look. As far as that pattern, this is what would be described as, I believe, a fretboard on a guitar. And specifically, as you move through, you have the individual frets, so those at your 5 marks. And then additionally, you have what I would describe as an inlay pattern for the in-between those as well, which just really gives a great, unique appearance to this, and I think fits the theme absolutely perfectly. The edge milling, you can see here, it does have a milled undercut, and then it has somewhat of like a broad coin edge to that. The construction is great. We already talked about the action itself, but the grip on this is really nice as well. It's easy to grab a hold of, no slippage whatsoever. Fantastic job on the overall for the bezel. As far as the case, this has a pretty classic and traditional case shape to it overall. You can see it's a nice clean flow as you go across. It does have, of course, downturred lugs. The predominant finish is going to be brushed, but it does have generous applications that are very well applied of polishing at both the top and bottom position. So nice chamfers to break those edges, as well as to visually increase the overall look. As you shift over to the aerial of the lugs, you can see that carries over, and again, just continues that nice clean flow throughout. As you move over, you can see this does have drilled lug holes, and then additionally, around the crown, there is no crown guard in this, which again, I think fits the overall theming and look for this well. The crown itself measures in at 6.9 millimeters, and this, as you'd probably expect, is a screw-down construction for that. The texture is going to be a well-applied knurling, very easy to grip a hold of, no slippage there, and I think it looks pretty good for that overall. We already looked at and saw that this does have both a signed and loomed crown applied for this. So that's a cool touch as well, and sticks with the overall theme of having loom everywhere. As for the caseback is going to be a screw-in construction, so not screwed down, it's actually held with screws. As you move throughout, one of the things you're immediately going to notice is this has very ornate, fanciful milling all the way around. It's on the flat surface, it's on the perimeter surface with embellishments throughout there, in addition, of course, to the overall text engraving that it has. So fantastically done there, too. Man, I don't know how many superlatives I can use throughout this video, but it's been very impressive watch overall. The construction is going to be an exhibition type design, so you do have that window. And then as you see in the middle there, it is designed to replicate an acoustic guitar. So that's, I believe, called the sound hole, and that's where you can see the 6 strings going across that opening that you would see in an acoustic. The finishing on that is going to be a radial brushing all the way around the perimeter as well. As far as the bracelet is going to be a 3-link type construction, and it does have very small links. The overall sizing is 20 millimeters, and then as you move down towards the clasp, it does taper to 16 millimeters. As we already saw, it does have male end links. The texture is going to be brushed uniformly all the way throughout. The links are going to be held in with screws, and it does include a screwdriver, as we saw in the unboxing. Additionally, you might have noticed when we were looking at the case back, this does have double quick release spring bars on the back as well. So nice, easy strap change friendliness, whether you use the drilled lug holes or the quick release spring bars. As far as the clasp is going to be a traditional fold over with a double pusher construction. It is additionally signed on the fold over portion, and it does have brush as its predominant finish, but then it does have polished chamfers on the exterior perimeter as well. Out on the side, it has 6 micro adjust holes, so you have plenty of size versatility and range there. Additionally, as far as the the bracelet articulation, this bracelet articulation, I mean, it's superb. What else can I say there? It goes all the way around, drapes perfectly over the wrist. Very nice. This also does have an included strap that comes along with this. In this case, it's a teal, which I presume that's going to be color matched for each. And there's an idea what that looks like. The straps are going to be leather. They are signed subtly for the buckle, and you can see brushing there, and it does have quick release spring bars, and then the inside it's an accent color with contrast stitching just for a little extra pizzazz. Alright, now that we have a better feel for the watch itself, let's go ahead and bring in some other watches just to give a better idea of the coloration as well as the sizing. This is a Zelos Nova. This one, while it is a 38mm watch, you can see with having a fixed bezel, it does have more dial presence overall, but you can see the coloration is pretty similar. Next up, this is a Zelos Swordfish 40, and you can see with this one with a rotating bezel, both of them having fairly wide bezels. These two present relatively similarly in terms of overall dial appearance, as far as the coloration, the fume, etc., but additionally as far as the overall sizing. So I think that's a good comp there. And then looking at this one, this is the Wise Hitman. This is coming in at 41mm, and of course you can see it does have a larger overall presence both to the case and to the dial itself. So that gives you a better idea, hopefully, of the overall sizing. All right, wrapping things up, let's conclude with my personal view of the positives, and there's a lot of them, though I do have some critiques as well, and then we'll close it out with a summary. First, for the positives. I think the theming of this, whether you're a musician or not, which I admittedly am not, I think it's very clearly inspired by a guitar. You can see those little touches throughout. I think it's extremely well executed, and in fact, it's one of the best themed-based watches that I've ever seen. The finishing, especially at the price point of under $500, is just downright exceptional. It has very clean brushing, very attractive polishing, the bezel action superb, the use of materials, the overall attention to detail and finishing. I mean, it's spot on. It is a really, really good watch. The lume, I think, is fun. Not only does it have some of that like full lume effect where you have just so much applied to the bezel, so much applied to the dial and everywhere else, but it's actually very legible, very practical in real world usage. So that's great. We already talked about the bezel action extensively. It's perfect. I mean, you really can't say anything there. There's nothing that I can fault on the bezel action. Great. Bracelet articulation, we looked at that as well. The drape, the articulation across the board. I mean, this is truly fully articulated in every way, shape, and form. I don't want to scratch it up, but as you can see, you can move it any which way you want. Perfect there. The overall comfort, as you would expect for having the things that it does. Size-wise, I think it's pretty versatile. Some people might find it to be a little small if you like larger watches, but I think for many, this is going to be a good sizing. The bracelet articulation, all that stuff, makes for great comfort. The value, as I've already alluded to throughout this, at under $500 for everything you're getting for this, I just think it's a great value, so I don't think you can go wrong with that. And then the packaging, as we saw in the unboxing, that's impressive as well. Really, I mean, this thing, from literally the first time that I opened it up through usage, it has just continued to impress me. But that being said, I do have some items that I wanted to mention as potential critiques. First, I do expect that there are going to be plenty of people who would have preferred that this had female end links instead of the male end links that are included. I like it as is. I think it actually fits well still, even on my smaller wrist. That being said, I know it's something that people are going to bring up, so I did want to mention that. Sizing, as we already talked about, I think it's versatile. I think it will work for most wrists, depending on your preferences. That being said, some people might wish that this was a little larger. On the clasp, while the clasp, nothing really to complain about. It is a hair on the thick side, though not badly so. The only thing I could really see as an enhancement here is I would love to have seen Toeless Micro. That's getting to be more common, and it's a great feature to have. So that's something that I did kind of miss there. This has, if you notice the bezel alignment, I didn't talk about that, but you can see, look spot on there at these three positions. There almost seems to be like a parallax effect that goes on where you get a little bit of that distortion, where it seems like it's not perfectly aligned at the 12 o'clock. However, if you look everywhere else, and if you change the angle, it does look lined up perfectly there as well. So I don't think that's actually an issue. The centering appears to be spot on, but I did want to mention it in case it's something that you noticed as you were going through. And then finally, the thickness. You know, I really think the thickness is quite reasonable. However, with this being 300 meters, I would love to see if, out of curiosity, they could have slimmed this out, maybe take, a millimeter off or so. That would be fantastic if this could get to around 11.5. If they went down to 200 meters water resistance, I think that'd be more than enough for most everyone as far as how they're going to use this watch. And that's something that I think would have enhanced it a little more, though really not too bad at all with the overall thickness. So where does that leave us? In case you haven't picked up on it at this point, or in case it's not abundantly clear, I absolutely love this watch. This is not one that I really saw coming, and honestly, until they reached out, I didn't even know it existed or was in the works. That being said, I have been tremendously impressed with this in every way, shape, and form. And with that, I highly recommend this. As I already mentioned at the very beginning, I think this is going to be one of the watches to watch in 2022, which that's a tongue twister there. But that being said, I think that everybody, if you like the style of this, it's definitely worth a look in considering back in that campaign. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you did enjoy this, please do hit that like button. Additionally, if you haven't done so already, please do smash that subscribe button. Greatly appreciated, tremendously helps the channel. Thanks for watching.